Okay, hey everyone, how are we all doing? Okay, so before I get into this video, everything I say is my opinion, mine alone. Please feel free to do your own research, come to your own conclusions. With that being said, let's get into today's video. Okay, so it is early hours on May the 1st, and I was hoping to get this video up like 2-3 hours ago, but here we are. So, as I've stated previously, May is EDS Awareness Month, and EDS stands for Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is a rare genetic condition which means that you have faulty collagen. And if you don't know what collagen is, it pretty much holds the body together. There are 12 types as far as I know, and I am type 3. So I wanted to share my story before the month started. Sorry about that, I just dropped something. I wanted to share this story before the month actually started because there are more important stories out there that need to be shared. I am going to focus this month on more about the people who struggle with EDS and what it has done to some families, because it is heartbreaking and you wouldn't believe what some of these families go through. So I didn't want to make the whole month about me. I thought that if there's like more important stories out there, way more important stories out there than just me. So I thought that I would do my story first, and then I can focus the month on people who genuinely need to be heard. One moment, let me just pick that thing up. I just dropped my notes. Damn. Okay, so yeah, I have got notes because I want to make sure that I get all the important points. And not forget anything. Not forget anything important anyway. Okay, so let's do this. Oh, I was wondering if this month you would want me to go live for the first time. I was thinking maybe we could do a Q&A on, sort of you can ask me questions. If I know the answer, I can answer. And if I don't, I can hopefully point you in the right direction. If you think that is a good idea, then leave a comment in the comments. Okay, that sounded so pathetic. Okay, so my story. We didn't know I was born with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. I had never heard of it until a girl in a UK soap called Coronation Street had it. And even then, I didn't really know that much about it, only the little that they spoke about on the show. Like, she's an actress in a sort of soap that is on four times a week, I think. Maybe what, I don't know. I haven't watched it for a while. But yeah, that's all I really knew about it was her, and she has it in real life. My entire life I've had problems with my joints. Hospital was a nightmare for many, many years. Still is, actually. Who knew they put a label of mental health on you and everything's up here. I would go into hospital with stomach pains. I would be told that I'm constipated, go home, say take some lactulose and you'll be better. I was having chest pains, here's some Gaviscon, go home, you'll feel better. Joint pains, they would take an x-ray. I can't see nothing wrong. Go home, put your foot up. So that went on for a long time. When I was 16, I had my first child, my eldest daughter. She was 5 weeks premature. 5 pounds 13 ounces. 11 months, 3 weeks later, to the day, my son was born. 12 weeks premature. 2 pounds 9 ounces. I was 17 when my son was born. And that was when I had my first major breakdown. I was then diagnosed with, oh shoot, one moment. Okay, how can I forget something I was diagnosed with, hey? Raynaud's disease. And that was all I was diagnosed with at the time. So, a couple of years on, I became pregnant again. Still had no idea, absolutely no idea, that I had EDS then. So, around about 10 weeks, I was rushed into hospital and told I'd miscarried. I was given 3 choices at this point. I could let it happen naturally, in which it could take days and be extremely painful. I could have a pill, which would have speeded things up, but it'd still be extremely painful. Or I could opt for a D&C, which would have meant a couple of days recovery. So with that, I opted for the D&C. I think they took me down to surgery about 4:30ish. Told me I'd probably only be surgery maximum an hour, but by an hour I'd be back to the ward. That didn't happen. I woke up and it was around 3 a.m. I was on the high dependency ward, and I didn't know why I was in so much pain. Even the slightest movements was crippling. So as soon as the nurses realised I was coming around, the doctor was brought to the bed, and they explained to me that things didn't go as planned. In the process of doing a D&C, they perforated my womb, dragged the bowel through. Sorry, I gotta laugh at these things because it just sounds so ridiculous. They damaged part of the small intestine and then had to remove the damaged part. Yeah. So by the time I went back up to the normal ward, I was on one of those morphine drip button things, and they were checking me every 15 minutes. Now, I remember this like it was yesterday. I can remember someone coming into the room to check on me, because they were checking on me like every 15 minutes after surgery. And one of the nurses came in. I heard her shout for help. My blood pressure had dropped, and I barely had any pulse. Now, I can remember them stabbing me in the leg with an injection that would counteract the morphine. and then they started doing CPR. From there I remember fitting really badly, and it almost felt like I was watching myself, and it's the weirdest feeling. Weirdest feeling. I could hear everything going on, but I couldn't communicate with them. It was like all I could do was watch. And that was terrifying. Like, really terrifying. So I had a couple of other miscarriages along the way, but none that sort of got to that level. Um, I've had a number of surgeries. One of them are not relevant right now. That's a bit down the line. But I've had my tonsils removed when I was a child. My appendix I had removed around about the age of 18 or 19. So yeah, I went through some problems with my mental health for a number of years, and thankfully everything now is under control. So after losing the baby in surgery, sorry, I just gotta check my notes. Yeah, so after the after the D&C, a couple of years on, I meet my husband, who is probably the best husband on the planet, by the way. I couldn't ask for more of an amazing man to share my life with. He makes every day worth it. Him and my children. Well, we tried for years to have children ourselves, together as a couple. Why am I pointing that out? And we just weren't getting there. So we decided to go and try and get tested to see if we can have children, or to see if there is an issue causing us to not be able to conceive. And this was the point where I found a doctor who was prepared to refer me to a rheumatologist, because I missed out a bit now, haven't I? My sister called me one day and said that her and one of my brothers had been diagnosed with EDS. So I went to my doctors at the time, said that two of my siblings have been diagnosed with this. Three of my siblings have been diagnosed with this. What are the chances I would be two? And at least 5 doctors refused to even get me assessed until we found one who would. Now, we were going to get tests done to see if we could conceive. And they ran the tests. Then we went back for the results. There is nothing they can see wrong that would stop us conceiving. Everything looked fine. 1 week later, 1 week, I found out I was pregnant. I was over the moon. We were over the moon. We were the happiest you could ever imagine to be. And 10 weeks down the line, I got rushed into hospital. The first thing the nurse tells me is, you've had a miscarriage. We want to admit you to the ward, and we will fit you in for a scan when we can. But until then, you're nil by mouth. Nice. Cheers for that one. 2 days I sat on that ward before they sent me for a scan. The woman doing the scan said to me, did you know you had gallbladder issues? What? Did you know you had gallstones? No. My gallbladder was packed. Completely and utterly packed. Which was insane. So I go back to the ward, the doctor comes back to see me, and how kind of him. I'm sorry, Mrs. Davis, but we can't do anything until you give birth. Nice one, thank you, doctor. I spent the remainder of my pregnancy in and out of hospital. I would have to go in to have IV antibiotics and strong pain meds while the antibiotics did their job, and then I would go home. If I was lucky, I'd be home for a week before going back in. During my pregnancy, I lost 3 stone, which was totally insane, by the way. Who loses weight when they're pregnant? Mind you, I couldn't keep anything down, literally. I couldn't even keep water down. So my son was born. 3 months later, my gallbladder was removed. A week before my son's first birthday, I went to see the rheumatologist. At this point, I was pregnant with my daughter. The rheumatologist examines me, does all the checkpoints and everything. Yes, you have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, EDS. So I went to my GP to make sure I had all my facts straight, what he was, what it does, and what it means for my life. So yeah, at this point I am pregnant with my daughter. And all I can think about was, my babies could have this. My children could end up with this condition. What kind of mother does that make me? Why would I bring children in the world only for them to suffer? I feel like the worst mother on the planet. And that feeling never goes away. So yeah, my second two children were both born via C-section. I have never been so calm going into an operating room in my life as when I went for my C-sections. On my little boy, who is 6 now, I went into the operating room. I sat down so they could give me the epidural. And as instructed, I then laid down. And it was over in no time. I was taken to a ward with my baby, who was only 3 weeks pregnant, so you could class him really as full term. And I was on cloud cuckoo land. But my blood pressure was low, so I had to have this sort of special blanket thing they put over me, which was continuously hot. Weirdest thing ever, gotta say. It inflates with air and heats your body up. Weird. So with that, I was up and about within 6 hours. I will put a picture of me with my little boy here, where I am out of the bed, sitting in a chair, approximately 6 hours after having the C-section. Recovery from him was amazing. I was on the highest high you could ever imagine. And it was just perfect. So you go forward a year and I've had my diagnosis, and they don't want to see me unless I get POTS or what's the other one now? One moment. Okay, so they only want to see me again if I get POTS or mast cell or signs of them. So I leave and the appointments start rolling in. I have to have cameras put everywhere, scans, x-rays, you name it, they were getting it done. The amount of medical problems they found that had been ignored for most of my life, for at least 15 years. At least 15 years. And they find out that my throat and things, esophagus, has been badly damaged by acid reflux. Badly. I still have problems with going to the bathroom because of the surgery. There's also the Raynaud's that I was diagnosed with. And the list just, it keeps increasing. There was a point where I was having 2 appointments at least a week. At least. They may as well have given me my own parking bay. So then, after my son was born, we had my gallbladder removed. They couldn't do keyhole surgery because the botched D&C, there was too much scar tissue there to be able to put the camera in where they needed to. So I had to have open surgery. That was fun too. And I was okay after that. It was slow recovery, very, very slow. And I had to be careful for a number of weeks with lifting things and overdoing things and yeah, everything like that. So then after the surgery, it wasn't too long after I found out that I was pregnant again. Now, I should have said I was pregnant when I went to the rheumatologist. I don't know if I said that or not. When I went to see the rheumatologist, I was pregnant with my daughter. And like I said, they said they don't need to see me now until I get signs of mast cell and POTS or whatever. So then my daughter was born via C-section and the recovery wasn't as good. I was having a lot of hip problems during the pregnancy, which I believe a lot of women actually go through, not just people with EDS. But unlike with my son, my recovery wasn't as quick. And the hip problems never went away. Now with my son, the pain of walking pretty much went right after my waters broke. And I will never ever forget the night that I went into labour with my son. I was watching, it's too ironic, Nelson Mandela's Long Walk to Freedom. I just turned the DVD off, went to go to the bathroom, and my waters broke. It is too funny for words. Like the Long Walk to Freedom. So yeah, after my daughter, the healing weren't so good. And my legs were getting weaker and struggling with pain more and more every day. And eventually it was, my daughter is now 3. Now my daughter's now 4, she'll be 5 in July. And it would be 3 years ago now I became wheelchair dependent. And that one has been a big one for me. There are things that I love to do. I love cooking. I love playing with my children. I love to get down on the floor to their level and just have fun with them and make memories. And I'm struggling with that now. Since I've had the wheelchair, things really didn't go great. In my mind anyway. And every day I wake up, I take my painkillers, Oh, before I went into the wheelchair, I had a stroke when I was 37 or 38. Um, yeah, that happened. And it affected my right side. Now my eye is affected by it, and my hands, my hand and my leg on my right are not as strong as they used to be, and possibly will never be. So yeah, that happened. Now I'm on medication for thinning the blood, so I hopefully don't have another stroke. I take a lot of pain meds in the morning, and if I need them throughout the day, I'll take them. And then I take pain meds at night, slow release ones, and then we start again the next day. And it's been like that now for the last 3 years. Continuously, anyway. And that's my story. I hope I didn't bore you too much. I'm sorry if I went off on a tangent on places. Tangent. Is it tangent? Tangent? I don't know. You probably know what I mean. But yeah, that happened. That's my story about EDS, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And I'm going to call it quits. This video is plenty long enough. And I shall hopefully see you in the next video. Bye.